Hello ladies and mental gen, and welcome to another HD review. Today we are looking at the Leopard 1, the tier 10 German medium tank. So as always we'll start with the armor. Not really much to talk about. Most you're gonna get out of this tank is around 150, and even that is if you get shot through like several layers of spaced armor. So you cannot really expect to bounce anything with the Leopard, which is obviously not surprising. The only part where the armor actually matters is when you face something like a T-49 or anything really shooting HE, is you really want to put your front towards them as most HE pen will not be able to pen through this. I mean, obviously the British HE at tier 10 will be able to pen this, but usually they don't bother to shoot it as it's not very reliable. But something like a T-49 will only be able to pen you in the lower plate instead of the entire broadside of the side. Well, the entire side. I don't know what the fuck did I just say. Anyways, don't show your side to the T-49. That's really the only tip I can give you when it comes to using the armor of the Leopard. And yeah, before we get into the game, just look at the gun depression. So it's 9 to the front and terrible 0 to the back. So that is something to note in an agile tank like this as well. You don't really want to be shooting behind you, but handbrake turns can be quite effective in avoiding that. Anyways, let's get into the game. And here we go, playing Fjords, pretty heavy tier 10 game, but as always, let's dig into the stats before we go anywhere else. 1950 health, 410 view range, top speed forward 65, backwards 23, power to weight 20.91, tank traverse 54, turret traverse 36. Soft stats pretty good, slightly better than on the AMX30B, but nothing close to the Russian mediums as per usual. When it comes to the guns, I've made a huge table in the middle of the screen for you to compare the medium tanks and their guns. Pretty much the most important thing to take away from this is that first, the Leopard's DPM is kind of shit now. Second, that 1.9 aiming time means absolutely nothing when your soft stats are worse than on the STB1, which means that, you know, the Leopard's gun handling is absolutely abysmal for a tank like this, which is rather sad. And that leads to pretty much the biggest change for the Leopard in the HD review, is that optics are no longer a viable equipment choice. You gotta roll with the vents or the gun length drive. I personally roll with vents because I am not running food. If you run food, you can actually justify gun length drive as well if you want to, but with food the gun handling should be already on point enough for you to not worry about that. But yeah, pretty much accuracy nerfs first force you to just improve that gun so it actually is somewhat viable and aims quicker and shoots more accurately. Otherwise, if you cannot hit shit with a Leopard, where's the fucking point playing the Leopard, right? And when it comes to cruise skills, it's extremely important, obviously, to max out your view range. So recon and situational awareness is must-have skills. Your base view range 410 will allow you to have full view range if you have those skills and brothers in arms. Don't even need to run premium consumables, so, you know, that's always nice. So far in this game, we kind of outplayed that TVP. We put a really good hurt on him without really taking any... Well, we did take one shot in return, but it's only 320 alpha while we slammed 2 into him, so that was a pretty good trade for me. After that, cleaned up the 57 heavy, and here we are now. Going to go back to south. I don't really want to push that north line. I really don't like to do that kind of stuff. So we're just going to be playing here and trying to shoot these light tanks in the face, which is exactly what happens. So the general playstyle of the Leopard has not really changed. It is still this sneaky tank that you don't really want people to be seeing. Once this tank is in the open, once people can shoot at you, you're gonna die really quickly. This kind of reminded me, like playing this more recently, kind of reminded me of playing the Waffle. Whenever this tank is spotted, people are gonna shoot your shit off, because everybody's gonna be focusing this, obviously. The absolute lack of armor means that all the tier 8s will just shit on you. You do out DPM them, of course, but you only have so much health, and the fact that the Leopard is a driving ammo rack whenever it gets shot in the hull means that you really, really don't want to be showing your hull to lower tier tanks. Obviously, using ridges and staying hull down for as much as you can is extremely important in this, as it is in every tank of this nature. Anyways, now I'm kind of overexposing. I know I got spotted, but I still went in the open and sat there for a bit too long. And now just trying to blind shoot something, but not meant to be. When it comes to playing against Leopards, obviously if they're in the open, you shoot them in the face, and every shot they take, some kind of critical module explodes, and the Leopard driver cries every time. But if they're not in the open, if they're peeking ridges well, if they're playing well, then you kind of gotta get out of there, as most likely they will be able to absolutely murder you. So just try to get away from open spaces when you're being peeked by the Leopard. While the gun handling isn't great, if the tank isn't moving much and the Leopard player is just camping, it's gonna be good enough to just absolutely wreck you. So you should try to avoid sitting in open spaces when being shot by the Leopard. To complete the list of the equipment you want to choose, obviously rammer and vert stabs are the top two, and the last one is going to be vents now instead of optics like it was in the previous review. There is no doubt that the Leopard has become significantly worse since the last review I did on this tank. The maps have changed quite a bit to, more tunnel-like, close-range, brawling kind of maps that favor tanks that have some armor in some places, or that have big guns or autoloaders. And this tank does have none of that, and plus the mediocre gun handling really kind of kills this tank. You can't even, out-aim, outplay your enemies because your gun isn't good enough anymore. But while the Leopard is not as great as it used to be, it is still capable of having good games, of course, like pretty much every tank is in this game. Just have to try to keep it hull down, keep it at range, and, not try to 1v1 tanks that you should have no real reason to 1v1, and that pretty much goes to all the tier 10 mediums. You don't really want to 1v1 anything in the Leopard. This tank is really bad for that, because you're always gonna get penetrated. If something like an Object 140 closes the distance, you're gonna have to start aiming, he's gonna out-DPM you, you're gonna lose modules, and you're gonna cry every time, so really not a great tank to be doing 1v1s, the Leopard. Anyways, now we're dealing with this Yak Panzer. The grill is behind him, so I shouldn't really give a shit about that too much. Killing the E100 on the way, and now I might be here in trouble if the E50M cannot out-reload him, but as actually the grill that out-reloads him in the end. And now, I mean, this is not a great engagement for me, as we are fighting tanks that are much bigger, and I don't really want to get shit on, and that's probably what's gonna happen if I go in there and try to brawl a mouse, a Type 4, and a VKB at the same time. Once again, while I said you don't really want to 1v1, there is some tanks you can 1v1 reasonably effectively, like, mouse and Type 4, but when there's two of them together, obviously that is going to be a bit too much for your tank to handle. Now the E50M is going for the flanking up north, and that's probably what I should be doing as well. But I'm just trying to wait and see if I can get a shot in, but, my patience runs out and it's time to go north and join the E50. One thing that the Leopard does have over most other mediums is the mobility. This tank really can shift, and it will overtake tanks, well, pretty much all the tanks apart from like the Batchet. Maybe the TVP can hold up to this, but mostly the Leopard is gonna be one of the fastest mediums on the map, which you should try to use. It can get you into some nice places. It can get you into a lot of trouble as well if you're too reckless, and it can sometimes get you out of trouble, but the Leopard isn't really a tank that is good for doing some kind of YOLO attacks and trying to get way unharmed from them, because, the absolute lack of armor and the module paradise for the enemy team is gonna be a bad news for you. So we got the Type 4 once. We can still take his hit from him and then kill him, but if we do that, then if he falls back, we might actually struggle a bit too much, so I don't want to necessarily take this hit. He's in kind of an awkward position with that corpse in front of him, but his reaction speed is worse than on a potato, so, we actually got the shot for free, and now I can definitely kill him without taking any damage at all, or taking the one hit. It doesn't really matter. Should have the easiest kill of my life here, and he also pushes, but one thing I completely did not account for is my damage turret ring. Really weird to be playing this tank with such a bad turret traverse, and I really fell for that one. But anyways, didn't cost us anything, and the game is over as the mouse dies. And here is the end plate: Ace Tanker 2067 Experience, High Caliber and Confederate. 7,555 damage done, 1,298 assisted, 3 kills and 1,378 base experience. So the Leopard, yay or nay? Well, there's absolutely no doubt that the Leopard has lost a significant amount of its bite over the last year or so with the general power creep, the idiotic E5 buffs, and, just in general buffs to other tanks, while Leopard received none. So the Leopard, yay or nay? Well, it's kind of meh, actually. I mean, there's no doubt that the Leopard has lost a significant amount of its bite over the last couple of years, I guess now, as just in general power creep. All the other tanks got pretty massive buffs. Well, the Leopard really didn't get fuck all. It wasn't like it really needed the buffs, but if you buff everything else, you kind of have to buff the tanks like the Leopard as well. Still cannot say that it's the worst that it's tiered. There's tanks like the AMX-30 that is really similar. Even the Centurion Action X is really similar to this and in its power level, but there's no denying that the TVP is much better than this. The Object 140 just shits on all these tanks, and yeah, I mean, if you're the collection kind of guy, you probably already have this tank, and I don't know why the fuck you're still watching this video. But if you're a new player that wants to get into some medium tanks, well, it is a cool tank to have. It is definitely not a tank I can recommend to new players, as you're gonna get shit on a lot in this. There's no doubt about it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Fuck Artie, and I'll see you on the next one.